Do y'all notice something different about me? I got new glasses and I'm absolutely in love with them. They are a new prescription though, so everything kind of looks like GoPro vlogger footage, but you know, I'm loving them. I could see my double vision is literally gone. Hey y'all, it's me Cecilia. Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm here with an unhaul. I haven't done an unhaul on my channel in a hot minute, but I figured I'm gonna bring it back today simply because I have this entire box full of things to get rid of. I have been embracing minimalism. You cannot tell by my background. I haven't cleaned yet, okay? But I'm just tired of having shit, right? And I was going through while like looking, I'm like, ooh, what can I get rid of? And I was going through and I looked at my books and I was like, okay, I just want to try to kind of keep the things, like the books that I have that are not available in my library, right? About 85% of the books I read are not my physical owned books. So they're either like owned on my Kindle or why is that glare just so freaking bad here? Like, so I looked at my TBR, physical TBR that I have not read, and to see like what's available in my library, either digitally or physically, and I'll get rid of those. Only 4 books did not qualify. So every book on my TBR, except 4, were available at the library. So how it is, I'm probably gonna insert like a video or photo of what my TBR shelf now looks like now. Right now there are 6 books, the books I want to read like immediately on top of my bookshelf, and then the top of my cart, of my book cart, is my TBR, and that's it. That's all my physical books, and that's how I want it to be for the foreseeable future. I don't want my TBR, my physical TBR, to be more than that, because obviously I'm not reading my physical TBR. And then below it, I have my manga and comics TBR. And again, once it hits that point, I can't get any more books, which is totally fine with me. I'm not a person who has a big book buying problem. I could probably count the amount of books I bought on my fingers and toes, not including the like 7 volumes of manga from the same series, you know? But I'm gonna go through and we're going to look at the books I'm unhauling. I am going to be selling, I would say, half to most of these on my Depop. Of course, not books I got from publishers or friends and stuff like that. Those I'm gonna be gifting to other people. But other ones are gonna be selling on my Depop. So if you're in the US and you are interested in these books, I'll have my Depop link down below, like the name and the link. So you can grab some of them if you want to. So let's get into the unhaul. Oh, I should preface this. I haven't read most of these books, okay? So you're not getting into that. So the first book we have is The Martian by Andy Weir. This is an adult sci-fi. I watched the movie with Aaron from Booked and Busy and a couple other people like on like Zoom and stuff. And I really liked the movie and I want to read the book. I just don't care to own it physically. I'm just gonna read through the library, you know? So yeah. Next is, I've kind of realized I just don't want to read this kind of genre, and it's romance. Okay. I want to only read specific romance like categories. So like pirate romances are my thing. Paranormal romances, fantasy romances, you know, all of those. Those are the only ones I care about. I've pretty much got rid of all the romance that don't fit into those 2 categories from my digital TBR and my physical. So you're going to see a lot of romance in this unhaul. So I have The Tourist Attraction by Sarah Morgenthaler. It's a adult romance that takes place in Alaska. I'm getting rid of Dracula by Bram Stoker and The Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I just got cuter editions than these. These were like a couple dollars at half price books, and I just got cuter editions. Then I have The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. This is an adult historical fiction that takes place in Alaska in the 1970s. I just don't care. I'm not gonna read it. I don't give a shit. No. Some are just like, I don't care, you know? Next I have is A Song Below Water by Bethany C. Morrow. This is a YA contemporary where everyone is mermaids. When I really wanted to read this book, I thought that the mermaids were gonna be a bigger part of the story, but once I saw people like reading it and talking about it and them saying it's not, I quickly lost interest. So I'm good. I'm not gonna read it. We're good. Next I have is The Giver by Lois Lowery. I found this at a free little library in pretty good condition, and I just don't care. I just don't care about this particular classic. Most classics don't interest me just because they just sound boring as all hell, but this one specifically sounds extra boring, so you know I'm good. Next I have is Full Metal Alchemist, the complete 4-panel comics. I got this in a subscription box that I have canceled. Wow, I just slapped you against my face. I've never watched Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood or the original, and I've never read the manga for Brotherhood or original. So I figured even if I wanted to read them, I'm not going to read this one, you know, so I'm gonna get rid of it. Next I have is Witch Hat Atelier, volume 1. If you watch my I read 30 manga in June video, I talked about this one and I quite enjoyed it, but they have the entire series available at my library, so I don't really feel the need to have the first one when I can just read the whole series at the library, so I'm gonna get rid of it. Next I got is The Library Book by Suzanne Orlean. This is an adult nonfiction book talking about just, I think, the history of libraries. I found this at a free little library and it's available at my library, so even if I read this, I'm probably not going to want to keep it, so I'm just going to get rid of it. A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. If y'all know, I pre-ordered this bitch and I never read it. And I just kind of realized, well, I pre-ordered this before I read The Hunger Games, which was a mistake. I read the Hunger Games trilogy and I really love the trilogy, but I don't care about President Snow, and I don't care, I don't want to read 600 pages about him. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. So we're getting rid of her. And then I have chilling horror short stories and supernatural horror short stories. These are just short story collections. They're very pretty. But I'm not going to read them. My short story collections, I like them either one or two ways. Either it's by the same author or short story collections that have kind of a specific theme. So one that I've seen recently is, what is it called? Vampires Never Get Old, I think it is. And it just came out not that long ago. And it's a short story collection about vampires. So that one particularly interests me, but these are just by a bunch of dead white guys that I don't care about. So we're not going to read it. Probably the book I've owned in this unhaul the longest is Black Leopard Red Wolf by Marlon James. I bought this 2018. I remember the specific bookstore. I bought it full price and it's signed. I bought it. It sounded really interesting at the time, but now it just doesn't interest me anymore. Plus there are some triggers in here that personally trigger me badly that didn't trigger me when I bought the book. So now that they do, I don't particularly want to read it. I'm not gonna go into more in depth. Y'all don't need to know about my triggers. This is not, but yeah, so I'm going to be getting rid of this. So the next book I have on here is A Traitor's Game by Jennifer A. Nielsen. This is a YA fantasy. I read Jennifer A. Nielsen's trilogy, the False Prince trilogy. I gave the first 2 books 5 stars. I haven't read the third one yet. I love them to death. They're very YA, they're very young, and I hear that this is also kind of similar in writing style, and I feel like I've grown out of young YA. So like YA for like 14-year-olds, it just doesn't appeal to me. Like middle grade still appeals to me because like I know it's for that age range, but like when you tell me YA, I'm like, I don't know why my brain's straight go. You know, I don't know. So I'm gonna read this, but I just don't feel the need to own it. And I hear that this one is not as good as the False Prince series, so I don't feel like owning it. Next I have is Motor Crush Volume 1. This is a graphic novel. It's sapphic. It's very pretty. Let me show you. Like, look at this. I read, when did I read this? I don't remember when, but I've read so far the whole series. There's only 2 volumes and it was canceled before it was finished. So it the series kind of leaves off at a cliffhanger-ish. Like it's mostly wrapped up, but like one part of the main character Domino Swift's origin is not wrapped up very well. So I would still recommend the series because it's mostly wrapped up except for that one little aspect. But again, I read, the whole series is available at my library. If I want to reread it, I could read it there, so I don't feel the need to own this. Next I have is Sabriel by Garth Nix. I still really want to read this book. It's just this edition I got at a free little library is not cute. I like the cover. It's just not in good condition. There's water stains. It's a little beat up. But this is I believe a YA fantasy, or at least a youngish fantasy. It's a little older and it still interests me. I'm still gonna read it, just not physically. Then I have Wilder Girls by Rory Power. This is a YA sapphic horror. This interested me but now it doesn't interest me as much. And I don't know, maybe I should keep it, maybe I should read it. Let me know if I should keep and read Wilder Girls.
Update, I sold that puppy. She gone.
Then I have The Wolf and the Whale by Jordana Max Brodsky. This is an adult fantasy standalone. That takes inspiration from Inuit and Norse mythology, and it originally like really interested me, but I'm kind of at the point where I'd rather, you can do as much research as you want, but I'd rather read an indigenous story from an indigenous person. You see what I mean? You get where I'm coming from. So I'm just lost interest. I'm good, you know, so I'm just gonna get rid of it. Then I have Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard by Rick Royerdon. This is simply, I'm still interested in this series, but even if I read it, I'm not going to want to keep it. You know, even if I read it, I'm going to immediately unhaul it. So, and I know my library has it, so I'm just going to read it through the library. You know what I mean? Then I have My Sister, the Serial Killer, Onkin Braithwaite. This is an adult thriller. And this interested me at one point, but I don't remember why I bought this. I think it was because it was $1 at the thrift store, and thrift store prices get me. So I don't know. I'm still iffy about if I want to read this in general, but if I do, I'm not going to read it physically, you know. Next I have is A Man Called Uwe by Frederick Bachman. This is an adult contemporary about pretty much a grungy old man learning to love. And I'm good. I feel like I've read The Storied Life of A.J. Thickery and by Gabrielle Zalvin, and I love that book, one of my favorite books. But I think I'm good on the old man learns to love storyline, and I don't feel the need to read another. You know, I don't know. It's like that one was so good and perfect that I just don't want to read another. And it was bookish, so like, I'm good. Then I have Little Witch Academia Volume 1. I also read this one I read 30 manga in June video, and I didn't like this. I really like the show, but the manga is just kind of nonsensical. And again, it's very beautiful. The artwork is stunning, but I don't need to keep something physically in order to show my love of something. You know what I mean? I'd much rather get an art print of it, which just totally invalidated the exact fucking point I just made. You know what? Shut up. Shut up, me. Okay. I don't need to keep a physical book. If I want to show my love of the series, I'd rather own a t-shirt or rather own an art print. I get more use and joy out of those items than keeping a book physically that I'm never going to read. Next I have is I'll Be the One by Lila Lee, a YA contemporary romance about K-pop. It's sapphic as well. I read the first 100 pages of it and I was just kind of bored, and it's simply because I don't like YA contemporary books unless they're in verse. I've been there, I've done that. It's just not relatable to me anymore. I guess I'd rather read books for people who are my age and older, or with main characters that are my age or older. So I think I'm good. You know what I mean? It's pretty good. So if you do like YA contemporary, I would recommend it. Then I have is this gross ass it's okay, it's not gross, it's just ugly. This ugly ass edition of Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Like, look at this. There are such pretty editions out there, and this is the one I have. I got this at a free little library, and I don't even know if I want to read the classic. Is it worth it? People who know my reading taste and my reading style, is Pride and Prejudice worth it? That's what I need to know. Okay, because if I'm going to read it, I'll probably read it from the library, and if I feel the need to own it, I'll own it. We're almost done, okay? We got 2 more. Next, I have Something Happened to Allie Greenleaf by Haley Krister. This is a YA contemporary. Again, like I said, I don't care about YA contemporaries anymore, so I'm going to get rid of it. And last but not least is another YA contemporary. It's Phallus Fair by Hannah Capin. When I added this on my TBR, this has a trigger that is very triggering to me, but I didn't realize it at the time, and now I don't really want to read about that kind of storyline and topic, so I'm just going to unhaul it and it'll be great, you know? So this can go on to someone else. So yes, those are all the books I'm getting rid of. How many was that? 25 books. Look at me. Maybe I'll do a video. I don't know if you guys would be interested doing a video on like the books on my TBR that I decided to keep, and kind of explaining why, like what interested me, like what made me want to keep it. So maybe I'll do that kind of video. Let me know if you guys would like to see that. And again, if you want to get any of these books, my Depop link and username is down below. But yes, that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in another one. Peace.